So there are two opinions on how you light the menorah on Hanukkah. Rabbi Hillel says you light one candle the first night, two candles the second night, the way we all do it today. The other opinion is the opinion of Shammai. He says you should light eight candles the first night, 7 candles the second night, 6 candles the third night, until you end up with 1 candle on the 8th night. Nobody says that you should light 8 candles every day. I'm just wondering why. Doesn't that make the most sense? It's an 8-day holiday, light 8 candles every night. It seems rather obvious that you do not celebrate statically. You either move towards the highest level, or you bring the highest level down to the lowest level. You either start from 1 and end up with 8, or start with 8 and end up in 1. Progress, upward or downward, but there's got to be some progress. Seems like we prefer the upward progress. Start with 1 and end up at 8. What that means, actually, aside from the fact that it's progressive, every holiday has its one-word description. Pesach, for example, Passover is liberation. You feel liberated. Purim, you feel joyous, celebrating. What is the one word that describes Hanukkah? We use the word light. As the festival of light. That's a little mystical. What does that mean? What exactly are we feeling? What is the mood or the theme of Hanukkah? I think the one word that describes it best, optimism. It's not the joy of Purim, the wild celebrating of survival against all odds, the release of tension, which is joyful. Here it's not a release of tension. It's not a feeling of being liberated. What is the feeling of Hanukkah? Optimism. It will get better. Or it's getting better. So we light an additional candle each night. It keeps getting better. How is that consistent with the story of Hanukkah? The Greeks, the Hellenists, were not out to destroy Judaism or Jews. And you see it very clearly in the fact that when the temple was liberated, the Greeks had contaminated all the oil, which is kind of ridiculous. Why didn't they just destroy it? They contaminated the oil intentionally to prevent the lighting of the menorah, apparently. But if you want to prevent the lighting of the menorah, destroy the oil. Contaminating the oil would not stop them from lighting it. You can light the menorah with contaminated oil. It'll burn just as well. So why didn't they destroy the oil? Because they weren't out to stop the Jews from lighting the menorah. They wanted the Jews to light the menorah, but their way, not our way. They wanted to impose their thinking, their beliefs, their culture into our lives. Killing us would defeat their entire purpose. They were not out to destroy. They were out to impose themselves into our thinking, into our behavior, into our belief. So they contaminated the oil means go ahead and light the menorah. It's a beautiful thing. The menorah was beautiful. Candlelight is beautiful, romantic, whatever. Go ahead, light the menorah. But the way we think you should do it, that's real abuse. Real abuse is do what you do, but you're going to do it my way. Which, I mean, that's what contamination means. I'm going to infect your thinking with my thinking. I'm going to infect your feelings with my feelings. Now, once that happens, and they did succeed to a large degree, because so many Jews started to think and practice Hellenism. Now the handful of Maccabees come, and they say, no, we're not going to do it your way, we're going to do it our way. The Hellenists were laughing into their mustaches. Too late. We've gotten through to you. We have infected your oil. You're not innocent anymore. Once you put thoughts in people's minds, once you put beliefs into people's belief system, values into people's value system, you can't get rid of it. I gotcha. I introduced my doubts about your way of doing it. I showed you the beauty of my way of doing it. You can't just erase the memory. Too late. Gotcha. That's pretty discouraging, pretty pessimistic. The miracle of Hanukkah was the Maccabees were optimistic. There was a light at the end of the tunnel. So yes, it's the festival of light. But what does that mean in human emotions? Doesn't matter what you did to me yesterday, tomorrow will be better. And there is no too late. There is no damaged for good. No. I can change my thinking, I can change my feeling, I can change my faith, I can change my beliefs. There's hope. Optimistic. So that was the event of Hanukkah. And that's why we celebrate it by lighting candles, which means light at the end of the tunnel. And no matter how dark it is, because we light it when it's dark, in the streets, which is a big darkness, because we're optimistic. We're optimistic that even one candle on the first night can dispel that darkness. 2 candles for sure. And to make it absolutely perfect, 8 candles, one beyond creation. 7 days of creation, one for infinity and beyond. So let's celebrate the last days of Hanukkah with optimism. You hear all the bad news? It's fake news. Be optimistic. The world is getting better. Everybody's getting better. There is no problem that doesn't have a solution. There is no tzara, there's no issue that doesn't have its cure. Optimistic. Why? Because the truth is stronger than the darkness. So light a little light and let the darkness disappear. You don't have to chase it with a broom. You don't have to beat the darkness out the window. Just turn on the light. Optimistic. And that's why we light the candles where everyone can see it. If you have to hide, if you have to be private about it, you're not very optimistic. about the rest of the world, even if you're optimistic about yourself. So that's it. I think that's the one word. This is the festival of optimism. Can't defeat me emotionally. You can't close the door on all the possibilities of goodness, holiness, greatness. Mashiach. So anyone who says, oh, it's going to get better, has to get better. The world will get better. Maybe not today, tomorrow, maybe not in my lifetime, in my children's lifetime. That depends on how optimistic you are. But if you say the world will get better, these problems will eventually end, well, you're talking Mashiach. What do you think Mashiach means? Mashiach means the world will become better. So people who say, I don't have that kind of faith, I'm not into believing, so I don't believe in Mashiach. But you think the world's going to get better? Oh, yeah. That is a greater leap of faith than Mashiach. It's like, you're sure the world is going to get better and nobody's actually going to make it happen? Wow, you got a lot of faith. We all have that faith. We all have that optimism. And Hanukkah makes sure that we never lose it. So have an optimistic Hanukkah.